Okay, so we're good to go. So good afternoon and welcome to our next Lunch and Learn 30-minute session, which is going to be presented by Gavin Scott, who's here today.
How are we doing, guys? Okay. Welcome.
And myself, and we are. So it's great to. Oh, let's just let someone in. Yeah, it's great to share the presenting this week. Also with a fine and great presenter with Gavin as well. Lots of great energy. So I'm looking forward to this. We're sharing the teachings of Stephen Covey's magnificent book. Sorry, while I'm just admitting a few more people into the meeting. The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. We're doing it 1 week at a time, and this is week number 2. Therefore, we're going to do habit number 2. So as I said, excuse me, it's a 30-minute session in 3 parts with your questions and shares at the end. But you're also invited to make any points in the chat box throughout, and we aim to address those between each section if we can. So habit 2, to begin with the end in mind, is very timely. Oh, bear with me a moment. I think you've got control, Gab. I don't think I have control of the slides for some reason. Can you shift it along?
Yeah, it's just saying on my screen to request remote control. It say you are viewing Kevin Hall's screen, so I've not got control at the moment, mate.
It's interesting because of all the practicing we've done, this is the first time I've not been able to move the slides.
Maybe it's just when you've been accepting other people into the meeting.
Yeah.
Something's just happened with that then. So it sounds like everyone's in now, yeah?
All good fun.
But yeah, I've definitely not got control of it in my end.
That's cool. I think I'm getting there. There we go. That's better. It's working again now. I don't know why that happened. Okay, then. So to habit 2, begin with the end in mind, is very timely as it relates to the defend, develop, and disrupt that Dan has spoken about. And begin with the end in mind is related to the develop stage of those 3 Ds. So what does begin with the end in mind mean? Which is a good question that Alistair asked at the end of last week. So beginning with the end in mind really simply means having a vision or a picture in your mind of what success looks like. And that's a question we quite often ask in our coaching or when doing strategic planning days about what does success look like? What is the evidence of success? And it's about knowing the direction of travel that you're on so that you can course correct if you ever get blown off course, because we always do. And we have that other favorite saying from Mike Tyson. So, and everyone's got a plan until I punch him in the face. Then, of course, we have to change the plan. We're always making plans. And, of course, our situation we have right now means that everyone's plans are, not everyone, a lot of people's plans may be ripped up and redone, recreated new plans. And they have to have a new vision and a new end in mind, because our new is probably not going to be that as it was before. And for some people's businesses, they're going to have to change quite rapidly. So beginning with the end in mind is it's a bit like booking a holiday. Now, what's really interesting is you wouldn't turn up at the airport not knowing the destination of the airline, or did not know we're going to go on holiday. So obviously when booking a holiday, you're going to think about firstly, well, what type of holiday do you want? Whether it be a beach or walking holiday or what have you. And then you're going to need to decide on the destination. And then from there, you work out the rest of the holiday plan. You wouldn't turn up at the airport not knowing where you're going to go. Yet, amazingly, quite a lot of people do run their business that way, and their lives, and all their lives, not knowing the direction, not knowing the destination. Oh, it's done it again, Gav.
Yeah, I mean, while you're just working through that, then, Kev, should I just make a few comments now? Yeah, as you're looking at the tech,
Sure. Yeah.
would that be helpful?
Yes, please. Yeah.
I mean, so, just thinking about what Kev shared then, it reminds me when I first passed my referee's course back in 2003, and I wanted to be a Premiership match official. That was my ambition. And I wrote down on a piece of paper, I am a Premiership match official. And I looked at it every day. I read it every day. My wife said to me, what's wrong with you, love? You've only just passed your test. You're not a Premiership match official. I said, I know, not yet, but that's the focus. That's the vision. That's the direction of travel. I've got to believe that I can get to that point. 2013, I was an assistant referee in the Football League, one step below the Premiership. And I made a different choice, and that was a choice to have more children. And so I had to hang up my boots in 2013, and I was one step below the Premiership. But I firmly believe that having that note and that vision and beginning with the end in mind, really thinking about, okay, what is the plan here, Gav? How high can you get? That simple note that I had on my wall really helped me to achieve some massive success in sport, and certainly as a football referee. And so now, as a professional speaker, if I look at my my notice board behind me, the key one that I look at every day now is it says, I am an international keynote speaker. Now, again, my wife thinks, crikey, who do you think you are, love? An international keynote speaker. And I'm like, well, that's the focus. You've got to aim for the clouds. And so it's massively important to really think about, beginning with the end in mind. How far can you go with this? And having that focus in your mind before you carry any action itself. Now, don't get me wrong, as a referee, I made a lot of mistakes on that journey. And certainly in my career as a speaker, I've certainly made a lot of mistakes on that way. But the course has been set. And so I know the direction of travel. I absolutely understand which way compass point north is. So massively important to think about how we can all focus on beginning with the end in mind. And if you think about the current situation with COVID-19, then things will change a little bit for all of us. And sometimes you have to reset, press the pause button, shake yourself off, pick yourself up and think, okay, what's the direction of travel now? Are you back online, Kev?
All good. All good. Thanks, Gav. Yeah. Okay. So before we, thank you, Gav. Before we dive into all the content for beginning with the end in mind, I just want to recap last week. So we said we're looking at habit number 1 about being proactive. We said that a proactive person, to be a proactive person rather than a reactive person. That's because a proactive person focuses in their circle of influence, and a reactive person will spend more time focused in the circle of concern. So in things like in the circle of concern, could be recession, could be Donald Trump, could be nuclear war, things that you can't do anything about. And reactive people tend to spend more of their time focusing on there, and their circle of influence will therefore diminish. And a proactive person will spend more time on the circle of influence, and these are the things they can actually have an effect on, actually have a change, can actually do something about. And that circle increases and the circle of concern diminishes. The people inside the circle of concern, or spend most of the time in the circle of concern, the reactive people tend to be those with more of a victim mentality, like why do things happen to me? And people who are proactive are more of a responsibility person. They are able to manage their response. So a proactive person chooses their response to a given situation and is not giving a program response. And we said about the red mist. Something can happen, the red mist can come down, and then all of a sudden you've said and done something without even thinking it first. It's just a programmed reaction. But the more time we spend in our circle of influence, the less likely that is to happen. And we're managing whatever event is taking place and coming into us.
Quick story on that as well, Kev. I know when I was working at O2 in the contact centre in Leeds, and sometimes people would arrive in the workplace and I would look at their face and I would say, well, what's wrong with you? And they would say, Gav, I've been stuck in traffic. You know, I've been stuck on the ring road for an hour. It's a bloody nightmare. The traffic is rubbish, does my head in. Then they would sit down, they would switch on their computers and they start shouting, these computers are so slow. They're rubbish. I mean, are your computers slow? And they start infecting other people. Then they'd pick up their headsets and they'd say, do you know what, Gav? You know, someone's had my headset last night. I mean, look at the state of it. It's all over the place. This thing's flapping everywhere. Rubbish. Absolutely rubbish. And throughout the course of the day, they would pick up some more bags of rubbish. And when they leave, they tuck them underneath their arms and disappear and go, right, Gav, I'm off. I'm going to watch some TV tonight. It's all bloody rubbish. And so the key thing is that they focused most of their attention on the stuff that concerned them. And actually, I used to say to them, if you choose to leave your house at a certain point in time, then the traffic will be there. A proactive person would take a different approach. They would leave early. They would walk. In an extreme case, they might even move house. So the key thing is it's about focusing on what you can control, not what you can't. And so, like Kev says, reactive people get themselves a little bit bogged down in the stuff that concerns them. And I firmly believe that for some people, that's an easy place to be. It's easy to say, I can't do anything about that. It's her fault. It's his fault. It's their fault. And sometimes you got to just look in the mirror and think, okay, what's happening now? What can I do about it? What's some of the action that I can take? So, you know, I think just to sum this up, it's about being an action taker, not an excuse maker.
That's the point, though, isn't it, Gav? That's why it's in the book, because although it sounds really quite straightforward, it's not that common. Most people will be reactive. So just saying that, just a very quick story. When I was back in the on the sales floor in the call center, and I was a team leader, and I have 8 people in my team selling car insurance. And if I'd speak to someone about their performance that day, or how are they getting on, and the reason their sales were down, it wasn't them. The reason their sales were down is because they were on the wrong line. I'd be like, sorry? Like, I'm on the wrong telephone line. I'm like, what does that mean? They say, well, that means that everyone coming through can't buy. I'm like, oh, so you're telling me outside in the street somewhere, someone's connected you to a telephone line that only people go onto that can't buy, and you're getting all of them? And they would say yes. It would just be the most ridiculous conversation. Anyway, that's being in the circle of concern and not in the circle of influence. And of course, my best salespeople were always in the circle of influence. So, excuse me. So diving into habit number 2, then, beginning the end in mind. I have a passage I'm going to read to you from the book, and it's a visualization exercise. So what I would like you to do is just to follow along. You'll choose whether you'd like to close your eyes or not, but just if you could clear your mind. This will take just a couple of minutes. So I'd like to clear your mind of everything except what you will read and what I will invite you to do. Don't worry about your schedule, your business, your family, or your friends. Just focus with me and really open your mind. In your mind's eye, see yourself going to the funeral of a loved one. Picture yourself driving to the funeral parlor or the chapel, parking the car and getting out. As you walk inside the building, you notice the flowers, the soft organ music. You see the faces of friends and family you passed along the way. You feel the shared sorrow of losing, the joy of having known, that radiates from the hearts of the people there. As you walk down to the front of the room and look inside the casket or the coffin, you suddenly come face to face with yourself. This is your funeral 3 years from today. All these people have come to honor you, to express feelings of love and appreciation for your life. As you take a seat and wait for the services to begin, you look at the program in your hand. There are to be 4 speakers. The first is from your family, immediate and also extended. Children, brothers, sisters, nephews, nieces, aunts, uncles, cousins, and grandparents who have come from all over the country to attend. The second speaker is one of your friends, someone who can give you a sense of what you were as a person. The third speaker is from your work or profession. And the fourth is from your church or some community organization where you've been involved in service. Now think deeply. What would you like each of these speakers to say about you and your life? What kind of husband, wife, father, or mother would you like their words to reflect? What kind of son or daughter or cousin? What kind of friend? What kind of work and associate? What character would you like them to have seen in you? What contributions, what achievements would you want them to remember? Look carefully at the people around you. What difference would you like to have made in their lives? So before we go forward, I'm just going to allow you just a minute, just to jot a few things down.
Sorry about that, guys.
So to begin with the end in mind, it means to start with a clear understanding of your destination. It means to know where you're going so that you better understand where you are now, and so that the steps that you take are always in the right direction. And this is one of the most enlightening and fun exercises that we do at the Strategic Planning Day Kickstart meeting when someone joins the program for the first time. Once we know the 10-year, the 5-year, the 3-year, and the 1-year plan, only then can we plan the next 90 days so that strategic activities are aligned to the end in mind. So take it away, Gav.
Okay, good stuff. Yes, certainly jotted down a few things there when it comes to what I would like people to be saying about me in those moments. So, yeah, good activity to carry out there, Kev. So, just imagine for a second, everything around you has been created twice. If you think about this, your computer, your mobile phone, your desk, your chair, all of these items were first of all a mental image or a visualization or an idea in someone's head. In fact, me and you, we were all created by an idea that someone had, or in fact, two people had. They had a vision for the future, and here we all are. So this whole concept of begin with the end in mind is based on the principle that all things are created twice. First of all, there's an idea, a visualization, a thought that people had before the physical creation of something is carried out. So let's have a think about an example from someone in the mastermind group. So let's say I'm just looking at the people we've got online. If I think about Paul and Marcus Fitzgerald and the approach that they would take when developing a conservatory for one of their clients, okay? I think if I looked at Marcus's LinkedIn profile, I think there's some sort of a strapline on there at the moment that says more light, more space, and a greater sense of well-being. What they would do is they would create every little bit of detail when it comes to what the customer wants before they even pick up a hammer or a saw and start the production. They would really provide their customer with a clear sense of what the finished conservatory is going to look like, how much light they would have, where the sun will come in from, how much more space it will add to their property, where the sliding patio doors will be, or where the sliding doors or patio doors, forgive me for my lack of technical knowledge on conservatories. But the key point is that this creation will be built on paper, in plans, using Marcus and Paul and their team, using their expertise to put together a blueprint that provides their client with a very clear vision of what the future product is going to look like. Yeah. And so, everything goes down on this blueprint, be it the technical drawings, the plans, everything that the customer wants in terms of their solution. And like I said, all of this is done without touching a single grain of earth on the ground. Now, what would happen if they didn't approach it in this way? What would be the impact of not having this first creation, this visualization, this blueprint? I think it's fair to say that, if they didn't take this approach from the start, then the consequences certainly could be quite costly. There would be lots of expensive changes that need to get carried out. There'd be lots of frustration and annoyance from the client perspective. It would certainly cost them a lot more to produce the end product if they didn't focus on this initial blueprint or this initial plan. And so, if I just realised that in terms of the slide, Kev, I've not got you still got control over them. So if we just knock forward one line, we should see the piece around. And again, if we go again, so yeah, so we have a mental or a first creation, and then the next one we have a physical. We have the physical or the second creation. Okay. And there's a famous quote from the Carpenter's Rule. I'm sure Marcus has come across this during his time. And it simply says, if you click it along for us, Kev, the Carpenter's Rule is measure twice and cut once. Yeah, you've got to make sure that the plan, the blueprint, the strategy, the first creation has been thoroughly thought through and reviewed before you do anything else. Then and only then can you start to think about the bricks and mortar. So let's think about us in terms of what we are as entrepreneurs, business people. We've got to make sure that we definitely spend some time really thinking about what is the vision, what is it that we're trying to achieve, what are some of the new ideas that I've got right now that I want to put into play. And we've got to start putting some plans and get some stuff down on paper before we embark on that second creation. Because if we don't do that, then the second creation is definitely going to be very costly, very expensive, and potentially it's not going to be a profitable outcome. Yeah? And most business failures begin in the first creation, be it a lack of understanding of the market that they're trying to move into, be it a lack of funding or a lack of a business plan, full stop. Everyone sometimes gets quite excited about doing new things, and it's massively important that we have a real clear plan that will help us to see what it is that we're trying to achieve. I think Dan always talks about, if it doesn't work on paper, it's not going to work in reality. Yeah, that's certainly something that rings true from some of the sessions that I've attended. And so begin with the end in mind. It's all about getting this stuff down on paper. I mean, the same rules apply. The same rules apply when it comes to parenting. For those of you who've got children, if you want to raise responsible, self-disciplined and independent children, you have to constantly keep that end in mind as you interact with them on a day-to-day basis. And I know certainly during the last couple of weeks, I've made some mistakes. I've tried to focus on a fast solution, but actually a fast solution when it comes to me parenting the children is going to be slow in the long run. I might have overreacted or shouted at them for the need of me trying to jump on a call when actually I need to spend some time thinking about, okay, what's the right approach? How do I want them to be? And so, you've got to think about how you can demonstrate what good behavior looks like and demonstrate what a good blueprint looks like when it comes to how you want your kids to be in the world. Yeah, because efficiency is not always the best approach. And certainly when it comes to begin with the end in mind, we've got to focus on the need to be effective. And sometimes moving slow at the start is going to be fast overall. And so it's okay to go slow and get the plan in place. I know that I see a lot of people around me at the moment moving very quickly, and they're pumping out some great stuff. And sometimes I get a little bit hesitant, thinking, God, I need to get up to speed with these guys. These guys are boshing stuff out for fun. I've not got anything out there yet. But then I remind myself of the need to make sure that the plan's got to work on paper before I start embarking on the second creation. So if we move on to the next slide, I'll just give you a few fun examples of some of the key things that I've been doing when I've absolutely had to begin with the end in mind with my children during this current lockdown period. My son, he's built a Corona go-kart. And he wanted just to crack on and pick up some bits of wood and start hammering stuff together. And I said, Sam, you need to think about what it's going to look like. You know, what's the end product? And so he got a lot of zip ties and he placed them on the floor and he pretty much built the outline of this go-kart. I said, great, there's a plan. That's what it's going to look like. At least you got the shape there. Now you can crack on and start, you know, putting some stuff into place. So he had a visualization of what he wanted. He put a few plans down. And I think at some point during the course of the next few weeks, I'll send the picture and put it onto the Facebook group to show you what Sam's Corona Kart looks like. If you move down to the next one, we did a bit of a family jigsaw, much to my wife's frustration. But I said to the kids, I said, just imagine, kids, not being able to see the final picture. Yeah? What would happen if we didn't have that final picture to look at? They were like, we did have no chance, Dad. Did have no chance. I says, yes, we've got to make sure that we can see what we're trying to create, but before we even start thinking about where each of these pieces go. And so, you know, beginning with the end in mind, certainly with the jigsaw, is definitely key. And then the final one, whether people are familiar with this or not, but there's a lot of stuff going around at the moment with TikTok. It's a simple little dance that you can do. It's a bit of fun. It keeps the kids active. And so we've learned a few TikTok family dances, but before we can master, I'm not saying that I've mastered them, but before we can actually have something that looks half decent, you've got to be able to see what good looks like. And so we watch other people doing their videos. We can see what needs to be done, and then we go about putting the nuts and bolts into place that will help us with a little bit of practice to come out with some sort of an end solution. So all things are created twice. First creation is what happens in our head, how we visualize stuff, and the second creation is the physical act of getting the stuff done. Yeah. So let's open that up and see if there's any comments, any questions, any information that's been jotted down in Kev's little comment box, and let's see what we've got. So Kev, let's have a look at any of the bits that we've got in there now.
Marcus said mood hoovers.
Yes. I call them mood hoovers, energy sappers, or BMWs. Have you heard that phrase? People who bitch, moan, and whinge. You know someone like that.
Has anyone got anything they'd like to ask Gav about that first session, or any reflections at all?
Good.
Okay, I think we're good to move on.
Okay, great. And so, Marcus, yes, hopefully I did your business justice there when I talked about your creations and your beautiful conservatories that you put together. But yeah, it just really helps to bring it to life and make it real by using some of our own members as opposed to, well, making something up. Yeah, so that was the reason why I picked on one of you guys and just went through your business. So listen, let's have a look at the next one then. So if we flick forward to the next slide then, Kev.
Bear with me, Gav. Done it again for some reason. There we go.
Okay, if you just click and we'll get the first line that comes up there. So let's have a look at leadership and management and the two creations. So in this context, leadership is the first creation. You know, habit 2 is based on the principles of personal leadership. So leadership is the first creation. This is about the need to have a vision or an idea. Next line. So if leadership is about the first creation and having that vision and that idea, then management is the second creation. That's the act of doing. Okay. This is all about executing the idea or, you know, taking some specific action. And we'll look more at how to go about taking action when we look at habit 3 when it comes to putting first things first, I believe. And habit 3 talks about the approaches that we can take when it comes to how we manage our time and how we make sure that we put the most important things first. But leadership most definitely has to come first. We have to have that vision. If leadership is the what, then the management is definitely the how. Let's picture a typical organization then, and just imagine. In fact, let's just picture what can typically go on in an organization. Sorry, just imagine a jungle which is thick of vegetation and trees and all sorts of other stuff. The leader is the one who climbs the highest tree and can see over the whole jungle, and he would be the one who would shout down to the troops and say, "Guys, it looks like we're in the wrong jungle." And what would happen is the workers or the operational managers or the production team, whatever you want to call them, they'll be sort of responding from the ground up saying, "Shut up, man. We're making some good progress. Yeah, it feels good. You know, I'm doing some good things here. You know, I'm having a good day productive wise, and I'm getting stuff done." Yeah. And what we sometimes see in business is that often we're a bit too deep in the undergrowth to realize that often we're in the wrong jungle. And so it's important to make sure that we have that overarching vision and make sure that all of our efforts are channeling us to, achieve that end goal. Yeah. My wife said to me recently, she goes, "You know what, Gav, in this current lockdown situation," she says, I need to lose some weight. I need to lose at least half a stone. I says, "Love, you don't need to lose half a stone. You look fine just as you are." But I says, I'm sure if you want to, you will be able to. I said, "So that's your end goal." I says, "All you have to do is follow a daily diet, right? If you follow a daily diet, you will get there." And that's the key thing when it comes to, sometimes we have that vision, but we don't execute the daily diet. And so when it comes to leadership and management, we need to make sure that, yes, we have that overarching vision, but also we're prepared to carry out the work that needs to get done on a daily basis that will help us to achieve that vision, that target, that goal that we have. And sometimes in business, like I said, people often get too, I think Dan talks about, people get too bogged down in the minutiae of stuff to really recognize or remember the direction of travel that they're heading in. And if you think about the current situation, you know, the whole landscape, the whole environment within which we operate, you know, is changing on a daily basis. And that means that, you know, effective leadership is even more important today than what it ever has been before. And, you know, if you think about this, you know, like I say, in the current situation, this is the biggest test that any leader will face ever. You know, I'm thinking about all the leadership events that I've done, and I'm thinking, wow, now is the time for people to really start to put into place some of the key learnings that they've had as a leader and start to show up in the right way, applying some of their skills and trying to battle through this, but doing it in the right way. And I think, you know, some leaders will flap and some leaders will falter. But some leaders, you will certainly see their true qualities and their true leadership skills shining through. I mean, we can all see which of the leaders, which of our world leaders at the moment seem to be flapping a little bit. So, like Kev's already mentioned earlier on, we're more in need today of a vision, a destination, a compass, and less in need of a roadmap. We've got to make sure that we're focusing on the right things. We're in the right jungle. And that's where a lot of the effort needs to be made when it comes to begin with the end in mind. We don't know what the landscape or the terrain is going to be like come the end of COVID-19. And so, you know, it's important to at least have the right future focus and know what the direction of travel is. So just to end this section, I want to share with you a quick little there's a couple of quotes I want to share with you. So the first one is, management is doing the right things, leadership is doing the things right. Yeah, a famous quote there from Peter Drucker. And just on the final slide, I was doing an event with a business recently in Richmond. Well, not recently, just the end of last year. And I was talking about the need to focus and have the right vision in this organization that I was working in. And the guy at the end of the session, he wrote down on a Post-it note, and he gave it to me at the end of the event, and I kept it in my office. This little Post-it note, and this is what he wrote on the Post-it note. Let me just share with you now. It's on the slide. He says, "Yeah, you spent your life striving, fighting, and climbing the ladder, afraid that you might fall. From the top is a view. When you saw it, you knew that the ladder was leant up against the wrong wall." So the key thing is that we have to make sure that, yes, we're climbing the ladder, but the ladder is firmly set in the right location. So when we get to the top, we will certainly achieve the vision that we set ourselves out to achieve. So, yeah, Kev, back to you.
Yeah, thank you, Gav. Okay, so moving on to personal mission statement. So a personal mission statement is a statement that aligns your core beliefs, your personal vision and your values, and it's unique to you. So using the computer parlance, if habit 1 is be proactive, then that says you are the programmer. And if habit 2, begin the end in mind, says then write the program. So having a personal mission statement is a great way of grounding you and guiding you, especially during times of great change. If you have a personal mission statement, then you would review it with great regularity, perhaps even daily in times like these. The personal mission statement is about your core purpose, unique to you, aligned with your personal vision and values. It's about aligning your behaviors with your beliefs. Writing a personal mission statement, Covey suggests, would take some time. And when you have something, it will require perhaps rewrites, amendments, adjustments, because the information sits deep within your subconsciousness and it needs to be accessed to become conscious and form into meaningful words in a meaningful way. Covey talks about the left brain and the right brain and using the two. So the left brain being logical, verbal side, and the right being more intuitive and creative. And so we have to use both sides of the brain to really come up with a personal mission statement. Covey also suggests expanding perspective to help this process. Sometimes in life, the rug can be pulled from under our feet, like the death of a loved one, severe illness, financial adversity can cause us to stand back and look at ourselves and ask some hard questions, like what's really important, or why am I doing what I'm doing? So taking a proactive approach, we can visualize the future. So with the funeral exercise earlier, you can imagine and visualize what you want people to be saying about you. You can imagine other milestones in life, like significant birthdays, anniversaries, retirement, what your employees or what your team might be saying about you. Imagine moments where people are making a speech about you, and what would you like them to say? We can also talk to people that are close to us and can gain a perspective from them about how we show up and what our positive traits are and what values they observe to inspire our thoughts. So to have a statement that describes you, is unique to you, that you own, that has been worked on and refined or improved and aligned, is a very powerful thing. And I personally don't have one. And reading through this chapter and this book again made me realize that I understand my values because I've been on the benefit of different types of personal development courses and what have you. I understand a picture in my mind. I understand where I'm going, and I know why I'm doing what I'm doing. And quite often people have said to me, like working in this business, that the reason I would do it even if I wasn't being paid, because I just love working in this business so much and working with you and coaching and training, etc., etc. But I don't have a personal mission statement, and now I want one. I'm quite motivated to get one. So I'm going to work on it, and when I've finished it, I'll be happy to share it with everyone if they'd like to see. But Gavin, tell us about your mission statement.
Yeah, I mean, one of the reasons that when I left O2, I was working there for 12 years, and I realised that I wasn't on purpose. You know, and I thought, you know what I want to do is help people to have great conversations, and I want to set up a company and do this. For those of you who don't know me, you know, my whole business is around customer service, and I help organisations to enhance the customer experience that they provide their customers with. And so I started jotting down a bit of a mission statement, and I first produced this back in 2009. I kept thinking about it, reviewing it, changing it, making amendments to it, with the last amendment being done January 2018. But it's a simple couple of sentences. And Kev, if you want to just reveal what we've got so the guys can see it.
Where did you get the idea from, Gav? Was it from reading this book, The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People, or did it come from was you inspired from a different to get to actually have the idea?
I did a Franklin Covey event, who is a subsidiary of Stephen Covey, and where we talked about habit 2, begin with the end in mind, the need to have a personal mission statement, a family mission statement, and my wife's got a mission statement as well. And
was
so,
that inspired by you? Did your wife have that because of you, or did she have one already?
She had one because I encouraged her to have a think about it, and she jotted down a few thoughts, and so she has one as well. She probably doesn't look at it as much as what I look at mine, but yeah, that's what it is. So you can see, and I think we've got a bit of a share there from Caroline. But just to call it out, my mission statement is to inspire and motivate people to be the best that they can be, and help to ensure that the people that people have consistently great conversations when they interact with other people. So I'm all about, great conversations result in great outcomes. And so if I can help people to have great conversations with their customers, then that's going to result in some great outcomes in terms of customers staying loyal, customers sharing stories about their experience with their friends and colleagues, and customers spending more money with that organization. So it's certainly...
I was just going to say, sorry, Gav, I was just going to say just a couple more questions. How many rewrites or amendments has your mission statement, personal mission statement, had?
Initially, at the start, it was changing. I was changing it all of the time. I just thought about a few keywords, a few core values. I wrote a very lengthy one at the start, which was about 2 pages, which incorporated, family, my legacy, my learning ambitions, how I want to live my life. So there was a whole page of it, and then which I still have, but then I've summarized it into just one little nice sentence. So certainly in the early stages, Kev, there was lots of rewrites of it, whereas now there's just a few little tweaks here and there.
How often would you say that you review it at the moment? In the last 12 months, how often do you review your mission statement?
I probably review it at least once a month.
Oh, right. Okay.
And certainly when I'm talking in organizations and I talk about the need to have an overarching purpose, I probably share it and demonstrate a level of vulnerability by saying to the audience, have a look at what I've got here. I'm not saying it's right, but it certainly helps me. And I'm confident that if our members had to think about, what their mission statement is, what legacy they wanted to leave, then having some sort of an overarching mission statement would drive them in the right direction.
And how does it help you, especially in times of great change?
Well, it just helps me to recognize if I'm focusing on the right things. And there are times when you can get a little bit distracted by shiny stuff, which is not in sync with what you're about. And so each time I do get a bit distracted, I can always ask myself, how aligned is this with what I'm trying to achieve? And if it's not, then I can, put it to one side and focus on what is. So it helps to keep me in sync with what needs to happen, and it helps to keep me focused.
Brilliant. Thank you. Okay. Final slide. So this is the end of our time. I haven't got a watch actually with me right now, but I'm sure we've gone over the half an hour. The suggestions about applying the learning from today is to take the time to record the impressions that you had in the funeral, visualization at the beginning of this session, create a chart to organize your thoughts. So on that chart, you could use character, contributions, and achievements along the top in the three columns, if you like, and then you can have 3 rows and therefore separate into family, friends, and then work. And that will help you with that. Notes from Gavin's session to note your learnings or thoughts from All Things Are Created Twice, to note your learnings or thoughts from Leadership and Management. And then finally, which I'm going to do, is design and create your personal mission statement. So that's the end of our session for today. So anyone would like to unmute themselves and ask any questions or share any thoughts, will be very, very welcome.
There's a few comments in the chat box by the looks of it. I know that Caroline was sharing a few things we were working through then, Kev.
What have we got? Create vision mood boards from Marcus. Caroline, my why is to free people up to show up as a whole person and bring all of who they are to work. Cool. My just cause is to build a world in which businesses are sensitive to, aligned with, and ultimately enhance the natural environment. Mine is rewritten last weekend. I took a 3-day retreat inspired by Simon Sinek's book, The Infinite Game. So that was from Caroline, so that's brilliant. Can we have the questions again, please, so we can work through them, from Omar? Sure. Okay, would anyone like to unmute themselves, and would they like to ask any questions, or would they like to share anything? Share any takeaways, thoughts? You go, Omar. It's a quiet one today, Gav. No one's sharing.
Hey, that's hopefully because we've done a good job of giving a detailed explanation of what Begin with the End in Mind is all about.
Okay, if there's no more shares, if there aren't going to be any shares, then I'll just give it a few seconds and I'll just I'll close it down. Say thank you very much for joining us today. Thank you very much for the time. And yeah, we'll be back next week with what was the next one?
First things first.
Okay, thank you everybody. Cheerio, bye for now.
Thanks very much. Cheers. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Cheers. Thank you.
Bye-bye.
I have my orders. I also have orders.
I'm trying to work out how I can, what do I need to click on my side here?
Thanks, guys.
Yeah, thanks, Omar. Take care.
See ya.
And then we've just got Alex in.